So haven't done a walkthrough in a little bit. So took the car to Chuckwalla. Yes, I do know it is a 1996 car, and it has no business being on a racetrack, especially in stock-ish form. But took it to Chuckwalla, and I blew the motor, and I think it was the head gasket. So what I did was, instead of dicking with a head gasket, I decided to swap motors. I knew eventually this thing was going to get the 3.2 liter M104 engine, just because of the fact that it's very boost friendly. So went with the 3.2 liter, bought that from a guy off eBay, an engine farm up in Sacramento. I won't mention names, but anyways, bought the engine from him, promised that it works great, and it had low miles on it. When I say low miles, I'm like 50,000 or 55,000 miles on it. So I trusted him and said, cool, let's pull the trigger and buy it. Bought it, got the engine, swapped the engine, only to find out that that one had a head gasket issue as well. So good news was that the head gasket issue wasn't actually mixing oil and coolant, so it was actually leaking from right here. Actually, I'll just take this off right now. So it was leaking from right here, and I have tons of pictures and stuff showing where it was leaking, but it was so close to the timing cover gasket that I kept thinking it was a timing cover gasket. I saw lots of different shops. They said it was a timing cover gasket. And since it's the first time I've ever done anything like this, I was like, 100% it's user error, and I don't know what I'm doing. This is the first time I'm doing anything like this. So I figured it was my fault. So, and I'm embarrassed to say I did it 9 times, only to find out that I actually did it perfectly fine every time. It's just the leak was just next to it, so where the head gasket was. So that's where the leak was. It wasn't leaking anywhere else. It was fine everywhere else. And so pulled the head off, and cleaned up as good as I could. Measured it all and got a feeler gauge and everything like that, and it said I was actually within more tolerance than Mercedes calls for, which is I think 0.003. I don't know if that's inches or miles or whatever the fuck that is, but anyways, I was less than 0.002. I couldn't even get the 0.002 feeler gauge in there. So good news. That means that the block is straight. And then the next question came up was the head. So the head measured out straight too, and it was actually pretty damn perfect. However, I was like, let me get cute and use a Dremel and start cleaning the surface here, and I ended up fucking it up. Anyways, so I had to go to a head shop, and I'm glad I did, because damn, it looks brand spanking new. They pulled the cams off. They did all the valve checks and everything like that, all the hydraulic lifters, and said that this thing is pretty much brand new. So now, because they did that, and unfortunately because they did that, I have to do basic timing now. And that's something that's I'm still kind of wrapping my head around. And I get the positions, I get the 4mm hole here, and it's got to measure up against this thing and that thing or whatever the fuck. But anyways, so we'll figure that out. And here is the timing cover. And as you can see, I'll put it against some contrasting background, but as you can see, we tried literally everything up until gooping it up on the outside with whatever the hell this shit is, but that didn't work. I don't know what that is. And I figured, because I'm in there, do the steering box. So the little story about the steering box is, this is the original one, and I've been chasing this vague feel in the center of the steering for 3 years now, and I've had this car for 3 years, and it had this really vague feel in the middle of the steering, and it didn't really rear its ugly head until I was either at a standstill or at speed on the highway. So I changed the tie rod assembly, I changed the wheel bearings, I changed the damper, steering damper, What else? I've changed a bunch of stuff: rotors, brake pads, wheels, tires, like literally everything. I was chasing this thing and it just had this real vague center spot. And everybody I asked, they really couldn't give me a straightforward answer. They kept saying like the stuff that I had already changed. And realistically, I don't expect everybody to know this car, but now I am an absolute expert on this damn thing. So found out that this damn thing, that was my problem. So that's where the steering column attaches to, and as you can see, that thing is not turning, and that's what actually attaches to the tie rod assembly and turns the wheels left and right. So I had this vague feel right here, and you can see how much that is. It's a lot, and especially when you go at speed, I kept trying to chase straight. Like it was like I just couldn't go forward on the highway unless there was some sort of load going left or right. So anyways, I got this guy, and I went ahead and consulted, maybe it's a mistake, but I consulted ChatGPT, and I was like, hey, I want a new steering box for my car, and I don't want to go for the stock one because I hated the ratios of the steering for the standard C280. I'm like, at least let's find some other solution. And obviously the rack and pinion is like, I have to tear apart the entire car and start welding crap to the chassis. And I'm like, you know what, path of least resistance, let's just pick something that's close enough, but that'll give me a little bit better of a feel. So I went ahead and got the C43 AMG steering box, and ChatGPT is like, yep, everything will bolt up just fine. You have no problems. Don't worry about anything. And I'm like, sweet, ChatGPT, thanks for being the best expert in the world. And I found out that ChatGPT was only partially correct. And what I found out was that the original steering box had these 3 bolt holes, whatever the hell mechanics call them, just holes that take a bolt, and it has 3 of those things. This one also had 3, 1, 2, 3. However, this top one, it was missing. It was like literally shaved off in half. And I think they did that from the factory. So they took the original housing from this, re-geared it, and I don't know enough about the C43, but I think there was something there on the car itself that they needed to shave this off. So there was like half a thread pitch, or whatever the fuck you call these things, that was there, and I just needed to recreate something on top. So I went to a machine shop. I actually went to 3 machine shops, and one of them was like, yeah, we'll do it. And I think because it comes to steering, they were like very adamant on not doing it because it's involved with steering. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll risk it. I mean, we have enough cars. This is just my play toy. So I don't want to kind of half-ass something, but I also don't want to live with this ratio from this original steering box. So got this guy, got this welded on, and we're about to put it in today. I just have to orient it just like this one, and then put it back in, and then hopefully it all goes well. But as you can see here, this one doesn't move at all. Like, you got to put a good load on that thing to actually turn it. So I'm excited about that, probably more than the head gasket. And obviously this is the valve cover and the exhaust. I'm going to go ahead and the headers I'm going to go ahead and put on the car, and intake manifold with the fuel rail. And that's kind of the skinny of what we got going on here today. And hopefully we get enough headway where I can drive this thing this week. And I'm super excited about that.